God, Gadge, that's a big cannon you've got there.
It is. This is the last Soviet small arm in airsoft version I'm going to show you today. Now, a lot of people think that the Dragunov SVD, and again I'll say sniper rifle, is actually like a long distance hyped up AK, and it's not. Internally it's quite different, isn't it, Tom?
Yep, so for those God-minded people out there, the Kalashnikov is a long stroke system. This has got a short stroke gas system, actually just like the AATVs you used to fire.
Okay, yeah.
So it's got a gas piston in the forend which comes back and knocks the bolt carrier and the bolt backwards. Whereas the AK, the gas piston and the bolt carrier are attached and they move as one unit. Because there's less reciprocating mass, the barrel doesn't jump as much.
However, ergonomically it looks quite similar. I mean, obviously you've got this cutaway buttstock and combined pistol grip, which is great. But again, your fire selector is the same, but instead of having safe, semi, safe, full auto, semi, it's just got the one to fire.
But they wanted to simplify training, Gadge.
Exactly, it saves you training two systems to a conscript. Things I love about it, which are absolutely crazy, and we're just going, it's obviously designed to engage targets at about 400 to 600 metres, more if you're particularly good. But for some crazy reason, the Russians fitted it with a bayonet lug.
Yeah.
So you can actually use it as an actual assault weapon if you wanted to.
But if your squad or section's assaulting, you don't really want to leave your dude outside the house, do you?
No, exactly. And in an emergency, if someone's on top of your trench, you can give them a good stabbing, I suppose. Again, you have that sight rail on, which we've mentioned before.
It's the same sight rail that was on the AK-74.
Now, this is a variant of the PSO scope. It's not actually a Dragunov PSO scope. It's one that's designed for rifles, and it's post-Soviet, it's Ukrainian, but it's still an original one. They're not that cheap.
It's not a Chinese copy, is it?
No. Now, what I love about it is that there's several things. You've got your obviously windage and elevation adjustments, but most of the time, like in NATO armies, you're taught to guess ranges by football pitches or distance between telegraph poles, all that jazz. With these, you've got like a ski ramp, and we'll show you that in a minute. And if you basically line up a guy with a particular point to that ski ramp, it tells you how many meters there are away. So then you can just set your sights for that many meters, and you should be bang on without having to basically fire a shot, guess, estimate the range, etc.
It's like it's scoped out to 2,000 meters.
Yeah, and that little bit there is a battery compartment. So in low light, you flick this switch here, and the reticle actually illuminates. So if you're firing at shadows, you're not trying to put a black crosshair onto a black shadow, which is for 1960s, 70s Soviet stuff. It's pretty Gucci, really.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did find interesting about these is, again, it's firing the same round, more or less, as the PKM.
Does it? It's 7.62x54R.
Now, I had a friend in the Infantry Trials and Development Unit, and in the early 90s, they got a ton of these over when the Soviet Union collapsed for trials and development. And actually, it's not a bad rifle. What they did find out, though, was that the actual ammunition they were supplied was appalling. There were different amounts of grains in each round, they weren't finished properly. So they said any real Soviet marksman would have had a nightmare of a time because his fall of shot had been so different between each round because he didn't have consistent ammunition.
Yeah, well, there was sniper ammunition, or marksman ammunition developed and issued. It just never got to the troops. So the guys just used to take the link off the PKs and delink it and use the rounds from that instead.
I mean, this is a Cyma Airsoft SVD. I haven't been able to get any like mid caps or real caps. I've got high caps fitted at the moment, but in reality that's a 10-round box mag of said ammunition. And the operators of these were trained to look for British soldiers with high value targets.
Okay.
While the AK users, the PKM users, the RPK users, but on a withering fire, everyone's head would be down. They'd be looking for signallers, they'd be looking for anti-tank gunners, they'd be looking for officers, they'd be looking for radio people, which is the reasons why in NATO training for ages, antenna on radios have always been bent over and looped rather than sticking up. Machine gunners tend to try and carry their weapon down rather than up, even though it's less comfy, so they're less visible.
There's no insignia on anyone.
Exactly, that's why British Army officers for a long time would just wear exactly the same stuff as their troops. There was no officer's pattern of webbing.
Don't suit me in a war zone.
Yeah, but they just look for a pistol holster, because you're important, that sort of thing. Again, I absolutely love playing airsoft with this. It's not even that accurate, believe it or not. It's actually just like a self-handicap, but I think it looks damn cool and it's fun to play with.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And it looks like a damn big cannon, doesn't it?
It does. It is a bit... You don't really want to play CQB games with it.
No, one day we'll get around to doing a full DMR job on this.
Yeah, we're going to strip it down and make it do its job
and I'll take you along for the ride when we do that project.
So the RPK, which in the Russian for that I can't pronounce to be honest right now, but it roughly stands for Kalashnikov Handheld Machine Gun. and doctrinally it fulfilled the same sort of role as the Bren gun will have in World War II. It's a light machine gun rather than a light support weapon. If you see a previous episode, it was actually designed to work as a machine gun. Could have fired from a drum mag, but more commonly this sort of magazine. Now, as you can see, compared to the standard AK-74 magazine, you've got that extra couple of rounds capacity.
Well, I think it was 10.
Yeah, and but again, stops you getting quite so low to the ground. They were fitted with a bipod.
Yeah, the bipod on was massive, isn't it?
So that's for an RPK-74. The RPK in the 1950s originally was chambered for the 7.62 × 39 Soviet.
Well, that's the ones you see the drum mags for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, because there wasn't. I don't think there was a 545 drum mag. No, there was. Let us know.
Whereas later on they make an RPK-74. Now, oddly, as far as I can remember, the paratrooper version literally just has the butt pretty much sawn in half with a hinge on it.
Yeah, it's an RPKS.
Yeah, rather than putting a triangular folding stock on, they pretty much just sawed through the wooden butt.
It's got a big old piano hinge on it.
Yeah, which just seems a bit crazy to me. But that's a doctrinal thing, because what you've got to remember is, whereas most Western and NATO armies have always trained for a high value of marksmanship to make every shot count, the average Soviet soldier served for 2 years. Fair proportion of that is training. Then you've got a month or two before they go home where they don't actually care that much about what they're doing.
It's only useful for about a year.
You've got troopers who are useful for about a year. They're also not that motivated because they're not paid that well. The average Russian used to say that life is a book and army service is 2 pages torn out. So realistically, Soviet doctrine was to fight from armoured fighting vehicles, to put down a high volume of fire to suppress NATO positions after they've been artillery struck to bits, and then for a guy with an SVD sniper rifle, well, so it's really more of a DMR in today's parlance, to take aim shots and take out key targets like officers, NCOs, machine gunners, anti-tank gunners, radio operators, and they were trained to recognise those apart from other riflemen. But the standard of training of the Soviet rifleman was nothing like of his NATO counterparts, even NATO conflict armies like the West Germans.
So what was the major differences with the RPK? So I think they had a longer barrel.
You've got a longer barrel, which again lets you have more stability over time, but it's not a quick change barrel. So like with the LSW, prolonged firing is going to wear it out. It's also going to overheat. You've got that bipod to support it at the front, and do you know, I'm not an expert.
I think they had a heavier gauge, maybe a heavier gauge, so the steel in the receiver was
slightly stronger.
Yeah. And maybe and I think the front trunnion was a bit reinforced, just so they could take the heat a bit more.
But it's one of those. I always think those sort of weapons are blind alleys in firearms. If you consider that it doesn't really do the job of being a long-range supporting weapon that well, and it doesn't do the job being a light machine gun that well because of its limited capacity of a box mag with the RPK-74. I always think you're much better off with a belt-fed machine gun like the PKM. Now in this photo here you can see me with an A&K PKM. Now it's a cracking bit of airsoft kit. I had really good fun with it, testing it and trialling it for a magazine.
I'm looking forward to the LCT one which is coming out.
It's great, and it's, again, the PKM is pretty much a general purpose machine gun. A lot of people think it's a light machine gun. I've been accused of calling it a light machine gun in the past and been told off for it.
I think it depends where you come from in the world.
But again, generally speaking, to me, general purpose machine guns are, if you take it off the tripod, it's a light machine gun. If you stick it on the tripod and use it for different roles, like suppressing areas, etc., it becomes a medium machine gun, hence general purpose machine gun.
Well, a lot of people seem to think the PKM is the finest GPMG ever made.
Yeah, and the PKM, I believe started off as the PK with M being for like modernised, as with a lot of
it is, yeah. It's fundamentally, it's an AK turned upside down.
Yeah, and it's in service. It's fed from a huge box mag that I can tell you is a pig to fit on the AK, on the airsoft versions. But so we don't have one with airsoft action at the moment, but we have used them in the past, and unfortunately we had to give it back. In fact, I had to prize out of my hands. I think I did not want to give it back. But the PKM is the true medium machine gun, light machine gun, general purpose machine gun of the Soviet sort of like rifle section.
It's still in service, still going. They're being shot at NATO troops as we speak. It's like one of the insurgents' favourite friends. The really long 7.62x54 R round was originally used in the Mosin, kind of before 1900. So
that's a really old round.
It's a really long.
I mean, that's the World War I, World War II battle rifle of, bolt action rifle of the Russian and Soviet forces.
Well, it was introduced before 1900. That round, so it's been going forever. But it's extremely effective and it's still being used all over the world.
So anyway, that's our guide to airsoft Soviet era small arms. We hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Gareth Gadge Harvey.
I've been Tom Anvil Hibberd.
And if you like what we do, just tell us, leave a comment.
If we've got anything wrong, leave a comment.
Yeah, we can do it. We can reshoot stuff. You know, we're not proud. And most of all, tell your mates and subscribe. And we'll see you soon.